Speak smoothly. Stop being awkward.
Audiobook, reading by Coleman Hudson, published by A1 Audiobook. If you've ever walked away from a conversation replaying every word in your head, wondering why you sounded nervous or awkward, you're not alone. If you've ever stood up to speak in a meeting only to feel your heartbeat pound so loudly you could barely hear your own words, you're not broken. And if you've ever admired those people who seem to effortlessly charm strangers, lead a room, or turn a story into an experience and thought, that's just not me, you're not doomed to be in the background forever. The truth is, smooth communication isn't magic. It's not luck, and it's definitely not something you either have or don't have. It's a skill, one that can be learned, practiced, and mastered at any age in any stage of life. I say that not as some untouchable expert, but as someone who knows what it's like to stumble over a sentence, to lose my train of thought mid-story, to sit silently in a group because I couldn't think of the right thing to say. I've lived it, and I've learned to overcome it, not by faking confidence or memorizing scripts, but by understanding how great communication actually works. In these pages, I'm going to show you how to do the same. I'll give you a framework you can use whether you're speaking to one person at a coffee shop, 50 people in a conference room, or 500 in a theater. Here's my promise to you. By the end of this book, you won't just know how to speak smoothly. You'll feel it in your bones. You'll walk into conversations and presentations with a quiet certainty. I know who I am, I know what I'm saying, and I know how to connect. But there's a catch. This only works if you stay with me to the end. Because public speaking and personality development aren't one tip or one hack. They're a combination of small intentional shifts that add up to something life-changing. Miss one, and you miss the whole picture. So I'm asking you to do one thing right now. Make yourself a promise. Read this book cover to cover. Take the exercises seriously. Try the challenges. Let this be the book you don't just skim and shelf. Let it be the one that changes the way you carry yourself for the rest of your life. Because the world doesn't need another person staying quiet out of fear. It needs you. The problem defined. Somewhere along the line, most of us got the wrong idea about communication. We think our speaking struggles are a confidence problem. We tell ourselves, if I just felt more confident, I could say what I really mean. But here's the truth. Confidence is not the starting point. It's the outcome. The real issue is that most people are operating without a system. They're trying to speak on instinct, hoping the right words will magically appear while battling a storm of self-conscious thoughts. Am I talking too fast? Do I sound boring? What if I forget my point? What if they think I'm stupid? This constant self-monitoring is exhausting, and it sabotages every conversation, every meeting, every presentation. It's not just about public speaking. It's about the day-to-day moments that shape how the world sees you. Introducing yourself at an event, sharing an idea in a meeting, telling a story to friends, speaking to a stranger in line. Without the right tools, you'll keep tripping over your own words, speaking in a way that doesn't reflect your intelligence, warmth, or capability. And here's the real danger. People don't see your potential, they see your delivery. The promise. Now imagine this instead. You walk into a room and people immediately feel your presence. Not because you're the loudest, but because you're grounded, clear, and comfortable in your own skin. When you speak, people listen, not out of obligation, but because your words land with weight and warmth. You tell stories that stick. You give presentations that persuade. You connect with people across all kinds of backgrounds. And you do it without overthinking, without faking it, and without feeling like you're putting on a performance. That's what this book will give you. A simple, repeatable framework for speaking smoothly in any situation. You'll go from trying to sound confident to actually being confident because your skills, message, and presence are all working together. The roadmap. To get you there, I've built this book around a clear 5-step model called the SPARK framework. Self-awareness, Understand your communication habits, strengths, and blind spots. Presence. Own the room with body language, voice tone, and calm energy. Adaptability. Adjust your delivery for different audiences, settings, and challenges. Relatability. Build instant rapport through stories, empathy, and shared experiences. Knowledge. Back your style with substance so you're worth listening to.
Each chapter will break down one element of SPRK with real stories from my own life and from people I've coached. Research from psychology, neuroscience, and communication studies explained in plain English. Practical exercises you can apply immediately. Chapter summaries so you can review the key points in minutes. By the final chapter, you won't just have read about great communication, you'll have practiced it, built it into your habits, and started seeing the changes in your career, relationships, and confidence. This isn't theory for theory's sake. This is a toolkit you'll use for life. Chapter 1. The Communication Myth. There's a stubborn myth about communication that's been quietly holding people back for generations. Great speakers are born, not made. We look at someone who commands a stage or effortlessly works a room and think they must have always been that way. We imagine they came out of the womb with a perfectly timed punchline and a confident smile. The truth? That's fantasy. The confidence illusion. What you're seeing when you watch a great communicator isn't natural charisma, it's practiced skill. Behind that smooth delivery are hundreds, sometimes thousands of hours of trial, error, and intentional refinement. Neuroscience backs this up. Confidence is not a fixed trait, it's a learned state of mind. Studies from Stanford and the University of Michigan have shown that repeated exposure to speaking situations combined with deliberate practice rewires the brain to respond to them with less fear and more control. Think of it like driving a car. The first time you get behind the wheel, you're hyper-aware of every movement. Your hands grip the wheel too tightly, your shoulders tense, and you overthink every lane change. But after enough practice, your body and brain adapt. Eventually, you drive smoothly without thinking about every motion. Communication works the same way. My first public disaster. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I was asked to speak at a local community event. I'd convinced myself I could wing it because I knew the topic well. The second I stepped up to the microphone, my brain turned into white noise. My heart raced, my mouth went dry, I mumbled through my points, stumbled over transitions, and finished with a limp, so yeah, that's it. Nobody clapped, they just politely nodded. That moment crushed me. I told myself, I'm just not a natural speaker. But later, I realized the real problem. I was expecting performance without preparation, confidence without conditioning. Why most people stay stuck. If you felt that kind of crash before, you know how tempting it is to retreat. Many people decide it's just not their thing and avoid speaking opportunities altogether. But avoiding the skill doesn't make the problem go away. It just cements the fear. Psychologists call this avoidance conditioning. The more you dodge uncomfortable situations, the more your brain associates them with danger. Over time, the fear grows, even though the threat is imaginary. The breakthrough. Here's the good news. If fear can be learned, so can courage. Every great communicator you've ever admired learned how to manage their nerves, sharpen their message, and engage people. And you can too. But to do that, you need to drop the idea that speaking well is about talent and embrace the truth. It's about tools. The transition to Spark. That's where the Spark framework comes in. Instead of guessing how to be confident or charismatic, you'll follow a clear 5-step path. Self-awareness. Know yourself, your triggers, and your tendencies. Presence. Learn to command attention without force. Adaptability. Speak to any audience, anywhere. Relatability. Make people care about what you say. Knowledge. Deliver substance, not just style. By the time you've practiced each element, the communication myth will be gone, replaced by something far better, a skill set that's yours for life. Chapter 1 Summary. Myth: great speakers are born confident. Truth: confidence is learned through repeated exposure and deliberate practice. Most people stay stuck because they avoid situations that scare them, reinforcing their fear. The SPARK framework replaces talent myths with trainable skills. Practice prompt. Think about one time you struggled to communicate in public, whether it was a speech, meeting, or conversation. Write down what happened. How did you feel physically? What thoughts ran through your mind? Keep this for later. You'll revisit it after learning each SPARK step to see how your reactions change. Chapter 2. Introducing the SPARK framework. When I started coaching people on public speaking and personal presence, I noticed something. The ones who made the fastest progress didn't just try harder. They followed a structure. They knew exactly what to work on, when to work on it, and how each piece fit together. It wasn't random practice, it was strategic growth. That's why I built the SPARK framework, a simple 5-step model that turns vague goals like be more confident into clear, measurable skills. Why SPARK works. The name is more than catchy. It's a reminder of what happens when you communicate well. You create a spark of connection, of understanding, of influence. And because it's only 5 steps, you can hold it in your mind at all times, whether you're preparing for a keynote, chatting at a networking event, or speaking up in a meeting. Here's what it looks like. Self-awareness. Know yourself before you speak. Understand your strengths, habits, and blind spots. This is your foundation. If you don't know how you're coming across, you can't improve it. Presence. Be fully there so others can feel it. From your body language to your vocal tone, presence is about making people sense that you are focused, confident, and worth listening to. Adaptability. Match your message to your audience. The best communicators aren't rigid. They adjust tone, style, and content on the fly, whether they're talking to a room full of executives or a group of middle schoolers. Relatability. Make it personal, make it stick. Facts tell, but stories sell. Relatability is the bridge between your words and your listener's emotions. Knowledge. Have something worth saying. Style gets attention, but substance keeps it. A great communicator can back up their delivery with ideas, data, and expertise. The science behind it. The SPARK framework draws on decades of research from psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science. Studies on emotional intelligence show that self-awareness predicts leadership success more than IQ. Experiments in social psychology reveal that presence and body language influence perception within the first 7 seconds of meeting someone. Adaptability is supported by audience-centered communication theory, which shows that tailoring your message to the listener's needs increases engagement and persuasion. Relatability connects to neuroscience findings on mirror neurons, the brain's way of feeling what someone else feels. And knowledge? That's the credibility factor. Without it, even the best delivery falls flat. How to use this book. Each of the next 5 chapters will walk you through one element of SPARK. We'll start with self-awareness, because you can't fix what you can't see. Then we'll move into presence, teaching you how to project confidence without arrogance. From there, we'll learn adaptability, so you can win over any audience. Next is relatability, giving you tools to make every message memorable. And finally, knowledge, so you speak with depth and authority. After we cover all 5, the last chapters will show you how to combine them into a single, smooth style, and how to keep improving for life. A quick note on progress. Don't expect instant perfection. Think of this process like fitness training. You'll build one muscle at a time, and soon they'll all work together. The first time you try a new technique, it might feel awkward. That's not failure. That's growth in motion. By the time you finish this book, you'll have your own Spark blueprint, a personal plan to speak smoothly in any setting with any audience on any topic. Chapter 2 summary. Spark equals self-awareness, presence, adaptability, relatability, and knowledge. Each step is backed by psychological and neuroscientific research. You'll learn each skill separately, then combine them for maximum impact. Practice prompt. On a sheet of paper, write the 5 Spark elements in a column. For each one, rate yourself from 1 to 10 on how skilled you feel right now. Don't overthink. Go with your gut. Keep this list. We'll revisit it at the end of the book so you can see your progress.
Chapter 3, Self-Awareness. Know yourself before you speak. Before you say a single word, your communication has already begun. Your posture, your breathing, the expression on your face, they're broadcasting signals about you, whether you realize it or not. And here's the hard truth. If you don't understand the way you naturally come across, you can't control it. And if you can't control it, you can't improve it. Why self-awareness is the foundation. Think about the last time you heard a recording of your own voice. Did you cringe? Did you think, I don't sound like that in real life, do I? That disconnect is exactly what happens in everyday communication. How you feel inside and how others experience you can be very different. Self-awareness closes that gap. Psychologists call this the Johari window, a model that divides your self-knowledge into 4 areas. Open area, things you know about yourself and others see too. Blind spot, things others notice but you don't. Hidden area, things you know but choose not to share. Unknown area, things neither you nor others see yet. Great communicators work constantly to shrink their blind spot by seeking feedback, observing themselves, and practicing intentional habits. The blind spot moment. I remember working with a client named Dean, a talented software developer who wanted to be promoted to a leadership role. His technical skills were excellent, but he struggled in meetings. People described him as distracted and hard to read. Dean didn't see it. In his mind, he was simply thinking before speaking. But when we recorded one of his presentations, it became obvious. He kept looking at the floor, fidgeting with his pen, and speaking in a monotone. His ideas were solid, but his delivery signaled disinterest, and that's what people remembered. That recording changed everything for him. Once he saw the disconnect, he could work on fixing it. What the research says. Self-awareness isn't just a soft skill, it's a predictor of success. A study from Cornell University found that high self-awareness was the strongest predictor of leaders' long-term performance. In communication, that translates to being intentional about every choice, from your facial expressions to your phrasing. Neurologically, self-awareness activates the brain's anterior cingulate cortex and prefrontal cortex, regions linked to error detection and behavioral adjustment.
In plain English, the more aware you are, the faster you can adapt in real time. Building self-awareness in communication. Here are 3 ways to start. Record yourself. Choose a low-stakes conversation or presentation. Record it, with permission if others are involved, and watch it back. Take notes on tone, body language, and clarity. Get honest feedback. Ask 2 people who know you well and 2 people who don't know you as well, when I speak, what's one thing I do well? What's one thing I could improve? This combination avoids bias and gives you multiple perspectives. Keep a communication journal. After key conversations or presentations, jot down what went well, where did I struggle, what can I try differently next time? The emotional side of self-awareness. Self-awareness isn't just about mechanics, it's about mindset. If you're carrying insecurity, resentment, or self-doubt into your communication, it leaks into your delivery. People can feel hesitation even if you're speaking the right words. That's why a big part of self-awareness is emotional regulation. Before important interactions, take a moment to check in. Am I tense?
Am I distracted? Am I trying to prove something or connect with someone? Your intention sets your tone. Quick win exercise, mirror minutes. Every morning for 1 week, stand in front of a mirror and say out loud, your name, what you do, one reason you're good at it. Make eye contact with yourself as you speak. This feels awkward at first, but it builds presence awareness and conditions you to hold steady eye contact. Chapter 3, Summary. Self-awareness is the starting point of all communication improvement. Most people have blind spots that affect how others perceive them. Feedback, recording, and reflection are powerful tools for closing the gap. Emotional state influences delivery. Check your mindset before you speak. Practice prompt. Record yourself speaking for 3 minutes on any topic you know well. Watch it without sound first, to focus on body language, then listen without video, to focus on tone. Write down 3 strengths and 3 areas to improve. Chapter 4, Presence, owning the room without dominating it. The moment you enter a room, before you've spoken a single word, people have already made a decision about you.
It takes, on average, 7 seconds for someone to form a first impression, and in those 7 seconds, your body language, energy, and focus speak louder than anything else. Presence is not about being the loudest. When some people hear presence, they imagine the charismatic life of the party, big gestures, booming voice, constant jokes. But true presence is quieter, steadier, and more intentional. It's the art of being fully there in a way that makes others want to lean in. Presence says, I see you. I'm interested in this moment. You matter. And here's the surprising thing. People respond more strongly to someone who's calm and grounded than someone who's overly hyped. A lesson from the boardroom. A few years ago, I worked with Lydia, a VP at a manufacturing company. She was brilliant, but often overlooked in meetings because she spoke softly and seemed to shrink into her chair. We started by working not on her words, but on her presence. Instead of hunching forward, she sat with an open posture, shoulders back, chin level. She kept her hands visible, resting on the table instead of in her lap. She made steady, warm eye contact with the person speaking before responding. Within 2 weeks, her colleagues started commenting that she seemed more confident, even though she hadn't changed a single thing about her message. The science of presence. Your body language and vocal tone affect not just how others see you, but how you feel about yourself. Amy Cuddy's well-known Harvard study found that adopting an open, expansive posture for just 2 minutes increased feelings of confidence and reduced stress hormones. Presence also taps into mirror neurons, brain cells that cause people to subconsciously mimic the emotions and energy of those around them. If you project focus and calm, others tend to reflect it back to you. The 3 pillars of presence. Posture, open and balanced. Keep your shoulders relaxed, feet grounded, and chest open. Avoid crossing arms tightly or shrinking inward. Eye contact, not a stare down, but steady, intentional connection. When addressing a group, hold eye contact with one person for a few seconds before moving to another. Vocal energy. Your voice should carry both strength and warmth. Use a moderate pace, natural pauses, and vary your tone to emphasize key points. Practical presence boosters. The 2-second pause. Before you speak, take 2 seconds to inhale, exhale, and plant your feet.
It signals calm authority. Anchor points. Choose 2 or 3 physical spots in the room to focus on while speaking. This keeps your body open and prevents pacing out of nervousness. Energy match. Gauge the energy of your audience and raise it by 10 to 15%. Too low, and you seem disengaged. Too high, and you risk overwhelming people. Presence in everyday life. Presence isn't just for the stage. It changes how you show up in job interviews, team meetings, networking events, one-on-one conversations. When you carry presence into daily interactions, people remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Quick win exercise. 1-minute power stance. Before your next important conversation or presentation, stand in a quiet place with your feet shoulder-width apart, hands loosely at your sides, shoulders back. Take deep breaths and visualize yourself speaking smoothly and connecting easily. Then walk into the room with that feeling. Chapter 4 Summary. Presence is about focus, calm, and connection, not volume or dominance. First impressions are shaped by posture, eye contact, and vocal tone. Small shifts in body language can change how others perceive you and how you feel about yourself. Practice prompt. In your next meeting or social interaction, focus on one presence pillar: posture, eye contact, or vocal energy. Notice how people respond differently when you are intentional about it. Chapter 5. Adaptability. Speaking to any audience. The best communicators don't just speak well, they speak differently depending on who's listening. They know how to pitch a technical idea to a group of engineers without drowning them in jargon. And they know how to explain the same idea to a client with zero technical background. They can motivate a room full of employees and then an hour later have a meaningful, quiet conversation with one team member in the hallway. This skill is called adaptability, and it's what separates good speakers from great ones. Why adaptability matters. Your words are only half the message. The other half is how they land with your audience. If you don't consider their perspective, needs, or expectations, you risk missing the mark entirely. Think about it. A wedding toast delivered like a quarterly business report? Awkward. A quarterly business report delivered like a wedding toast? Unprofessional. Adaptability is about adjusting without losing your authenticity. The story of two pitches.
I once coached Aaron, a young startup founder who was preparing to pitch his company to investors. In our first run-through, he gave the exact same pitch he'd been using to recruit interns, casual, funny, and full of inside jokes about startup culture. It fell flat. The investors wanted numbers, market analysis, and clear ROI projections. Once he adjusted his delivery to be more data-driven while keeping his enthusiasm, his second pitch got him the funding he needed. Same idea, same person, different delivery. The audience lens. To adapt effectively, ask yourself 3 questions before any talk or conversation. Who are they? What's their background, age range, or experience level? What do they need? Are they here to learn, decide, be inspired, or be entertained? How do they feel? Are they skeptical, excited, bored, anxious? These 3 factors shape not only what you say, but how you say it. Matching, then leading. In communication psychology, there's a principle called matching and leading. First, you match the audience's energy, tone, or vocabulary so they feel you get them. Then, you gradually lead them toward the energy, clarity, or confidence you want them to have. Example, if you walk into a tense meeting, you don't start with high-energy humor. You acknowledge the tension, then guide the group to a more relaxed tone. If you join an already excited audience, you start energized and keep the momentum. Adapting across settings. One-on-one, more personal, direct, and conversational. Use active listening and questions. Small group. Encourage interaction. Make eye contact with everyone in turn. Large audience. Bigger gestures, clearer structure, and more vocal variety to maintain attention. Virtual setting. Speak slightly slower, exaggerate facial expressions slightly, and check in more often to keep engagement high. The chameleon trap. Adaptability doesn't mean changing your personality to please everyone. If you try to become someone else entirely, you'll come across as inauthentic, and people will sense it instantly. The goal is to translate yourself for the audience, not replace yourself. Quick win exercise, the 3 triple take. Choose a single topic, for example, your favorite hobby, and explain it 3 ways. To a 10-year-old, to a college student, to a panel of industry experts. Notice how your word choice, tone, and detail level change each time. Chapter 5 Summary.
Adaptability is the ability to adjust your message and style for different audiences without losing authenticity. Always consider who they are, what they need, and how they feel.
Match your audience's energy first, then lead them toward your desired tone. Practice prompt. Before your next meeting or presentation, write down the answers to the 3 audience lens questions. Afterward, reflect on whether your delivery matched what they needed. Chapter 6. Relatability. Connecting beyond words. You can have the most polished delivery in the world, but if your audience doesn't feel a connection, your words won't stick. Relatability is the bridge between information and impact. When people relate to you, they're more likely to listen, trust, and remember what you say. It's the human glue that holds your message together. Why relatability matters. The brain processes facts and stories differently. Facts are stored in short-term memory. Stories and the emotions tied to them activate multiple regions of the brain, embedding themselves deeper and longer. A Princeton University study showed that when a listener is truly engaged, their brain activity begins to mirror the speaker's, a phenomenon called neural coupling. That means they're not just hearing your story, they're experiencing it alongside you. The time I bombed and won anyway. I once gave a talk to a group of young entrepreneurs, and halfway through, my clicker died. My slides were gone. I could have panicked, but instead, I told them about the first time I tried to sell a product, a neighborhood lawn mowing service when I was 12, and how I accidentally broke a client's sprinkler system. The room erupted in laughter. Suddenly, the energy shifted. They weren't thinking about the slides. They were thinking, this guy gets it. He's been where I am. That's the power of relatability. It turns a mistake into a connection. 3 keys to relatability. Shared experience. Talk about situations your audience has lived through or can imagine vividly. Emotional honesty. Share not just what happened, but how you felt. Fear, excitement, frustration, joy. Appropriate vulnerability. You don't need to spill your deepest secrets, but showing a little imperfection makes you human. The story bank. One of the most practical tools for building relatability is keeping a story bank, a personal collection of short, true stories from your life. Your stories can be about a challenge you overcame,
A funny mistake, a surprising lesson learned, a moment of kindness, an unexpected opportunity. When you keep a story bank, you'll always have material ready that can make your point and connect emotionally. Using empathy to connect. Relatability isn't just about telling your story, it's about listening for theirs. The more you listen, the more you can tailor your stories and examples to fit their world. Ask questions. Repeat back key details they've shared. This shows you're not just delivering a message, you're in a conversation. The relatability filter. Before you share a story or example, ask, will my audience understand the context? Is the tone appropriate for the situation? Does this illustrate my point clearly? If the answer to all 3 is yes, it's a good fit. Quick win exercise. The 3-minute story. Pick one small moment from your week, a funny mishap, a helpful conversation, a personal win, and tell it in under 3 minutes to a friend or family member. Pay attention to when they smile, nod, or laugh. That's the moment you connected. Chapter 6 Summary. Relatability makes your audience feel connected to you and your message. Shared experiences, emotional honesty, and appropriate vulnerability build trust. Keep a story bank so you're always ready with a personal, relevant example. Practice prompt. Write down 3 personal stories you can use in future conversations or presentations. For each, note the key emotion it conveys and the type of audience it would resonate most with. Chapter 7 Knowledge. Substance fuels style. You can be the most charismatic speaker in the room, but if your message is empty, it won't last beyond the applause. Style might capture attention, but substance is what earns respect and keeps people coming back for more. Why substance matters. Imagine you're listening to a talk that starts with a captivating story, but halfway through, you realize the speaker isn't actually saying anything new. The initial charm wears off, and you feel like you've been sold a beautifully wrapped empty box. This happens because many people focus on how they say something before focusing on what they're actually saying. But the most compelling communicators build their message on a solid foundation of understanding, facts, and clarity. The confidence knowledge loop. Here's the secret. The more you know your material, the more confident you become.
And the more confident you are, the smoother your delivery feels. This creates a loop. Knowledge, confidence, better delivery, more trust, more influence. You can fake confidence for a few minutes, but genuine confidence grows from preparation and mastery of your topic. Owning your topic. When preparing to speak, aim for 3 levels of mastery. Core concepts, be crystal clear on the main points you want to communicate. Supporting details, have examples, analogies, or stories that illustrate those points. Deep background, know more than you plan to say, so you can handle unexpected questions without panic. The danger of overloading. While knowledge is essential, dumping too much information can overwhelm your audience. Think of it like seasoning. Too little and the dish is bland. Too much and you ruin the flavor. Your job is to choose the right amount of information for your audience, not to showcase everything you know. From information to insight. Facts alone rarely change minds. People want to know what it means for them. Instead of just stating information, frame it as insight. Fact: employees who get regular feedback are 3 times more engaged. Insight: if you give even 5 minutes of feedback each week, your team will feel more valued and productivity will rise. Preparation as a confidence tool. One of my early mentors, Linda Chavez, told me, "You can't over-prepare. You can only underperform from not preparing enough." She was right. I've seen nervous speakers transform into powerful communicators simply by taking the time to outline their main points, anticipate tough questions, and practice aloud instead of just in their head. Quick win exercise, the 5-bullet test. Before any talk or meeting, challenge yourself to write down your message in 5 bullet points. If you can't do that, you don't know your material well enough. Chapter 7 Summary. Style gets attention, but substance builds lasting influence. Knowledge fuels confidence, and confidence improves delivery. Master your topic at 3 levels: core concepts, supporting details, and deep background. Translate facts into insights your audience can act on. Practice prompt. Think about your next speaking opportunity. Write down 5 bullet points that summarize your main message, then find one story or example to support each bullet.
Chapter 8. Authenticity, the power of being yourself. Some people believe public speaking is about putting on a persona, speaking with a voice that isn't yours, telling stories that aren't yours, or copying someone else's style. That's exhausting, and audiences can smell it from a mile away. Authenticity is not just a feel-good buzzword, it's the foundation of trust. And trust is the currency of influence. Why authenticity works. When people sense that you're being real, their guard drops. They stop evaluating you and start engaging with you. A Harvard Business Review study on leadership trust found that authenticity was one of the top 3 traits people valued most in leaders, right alongside competence and empathy. If authenticity works in leadership, it works just as powerfully in public speaking, because both are about connection, not performance. The myth of the speaker personality. Early in my career, I tried to sound like every great speaker I admired. I copied their tone, gestures, even their jokes. It never felt natural. The turning point came when a colleague told me, "Coleman, I like you more when you're not trying to impress me." That's when I realized I didn't need a speaker personality. I needed to become a more confident version of my own personality. The authenticity framework. To speak authentically, use this simple 3-step approach. Know your values. What principles guide you? If you care about honesty, humor, or service, let that shape your words and tone. Tell the truth strategically. Be real about your experiences, even failures, but choose stories that serve your audience, not just your ego.
Match your delivery to your nature. If you're naturally warm, lean into warmth. If you're analytical, lean into clarity and precision. Balancing realness and professionalism. Authenticity isn't an excuse to be sloppy, unprepared, or unfiltered. It's about alignment, making sure your words, tone, and body language all match your real intentions. Prepared and genuine is the winning combination. When authenticity gets you noticed. A few years ago, I spoke at a leadership summit. My slot was right after a high-energy motivational speaker who had the crowd laughing and clapping. Instead of trying to match his energy, I started my talk with a pause, then told a short, quiet story about a mentor who changed my life with one sentence. The room went still. People leaned in.
They didn't need me to be the same as the last speaker. They needed me to be me. Quick win exercise. Your 3 truths. Write down 3 sentences that are 100% true about you and that you'd feel comfortable sharing in front of an audience. Example, I grew up afraid of speaking in front of people. I believe everyone has a story worth telling. I once forgot my own name during a job interview. These truths make you human and memorable. Chapter 8 Summary. Authenticity builds trust and connection faster than any technique. You don't need a speaker personality. You need a confident version of your true self. Knowing your values, telling strategic truths, and matching your delivery to your nature are the keys to authenticity. Practice prompt. Before your next presentation, identify one personal truth you'll share that will help the audience connect with you. Then, plan how you'll deliver it so it feels natural.
Chapter 9. The Art of Storytelling, Turning Messages into Memories. Human beings are wired for stories. Before we wrote things down, we told stories around campfires. Before we could Google facts, we passed down lessons through tales of heroes, failures, and adventures. Today, the most persuasive leaders, marketers, and speakers still rely on the same truth. Facts tell, but stories sell. Why stories work. Neuroscience gives us a clue. When you tell a story, the listener's brain activity mirrors yours, a phenomenon called neural coupling. In plain English, they experience what you're saying. Research from Princeton University found that well-told stories activate the sensory, motor, and emotional parts of the brain, not just the language centers. That's why a great story can make your heart race or your eyes water. The 3 elements of a powerful story. Relatable character. Someone your audience can see themselves in, whether it's you, a client, or a friend. Conflict or challenge. The obstacle that creates tension and keeps people listening. Resolution with a lesson. How the challenge was overcome and what it means for the listener. Without conflict, you don't have a story. You have a timeline. And timelines are boring. Keep it simple, keep it tight. A good story doesn't need 10 minutes to land. In fact, short stories often hit harder because they strip away the fluff and get right to the turning point. Think of your story as a bridge. It should take the listener from where they are to where you want them to be, without detours. The STAR story formula. Use this 4-step model to make your stories unforgettable. Situation. Set the scene briefly. Tension. Introduce the problem or challenge. Action. Describe what happened or what was done. Result. Share the outcome and the lesson. When I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I opened a workshop with 5 minutes of backstory before getting to my main point. By the time I got there, I'd already lost the room. Now, I start in the middle of the action. I skip the once upon a time build-up and hook them right away, then fill in details as needed. The audience doesn't want every detail. They want the right details. Quick win exercise, the 2-minute story drill. Pick a personal or professional experience and challenge yourself to tell it in 2 minutes or less. Focus on the STAR elements and see if you can make the listener both understand and feel your point.
Chapter 9 Summary. Stories engage the brain more deeply than facts alone. Powerful stories have a relatable character, a challenge, and a resolution. Use the STAR formula to keep your stories tight and impactful. Practice prompt. Write down one story you can use in your next talk, then run it through the STAR formula. Time yourself to make sure it's under 2 minutes. Chapter 10. Handling fear and nerves, turning anxiety into an advantage. Let's be honest. Everyone feels nervous before speaking in front of people. Yes, even the confident ones. Yes, even the professionals. The difference between a shaky speaker and a powerful one isn't the absence of nerves, it's the ability to channel that energy into focus, clarity, and connection. The science behind stage fright. Public speaking triggers a primal threat response in the brain. When you sense you're being watched and evaluated, your amygdala fires up, flooding your system with adrenaline and cortisol, the fight or flight hormones. That's why your heart races, your mouth goes dry, and your hands get clammy. The key is learning to manage this surge so it works for you, not against you. Reframing nervousness as energy. In a landmark Harvard study, participants were told to reframe their anxiety as excitement before a stressful task. The result? Their performance improved significantly because the physical sensations of fear and excitement are almost identical. Instead of saying, "I'm so nervous," tell yourself, "I'm ready. This is my body gearing up to help me perform." Pre-talk nerve management techniques. Breathe in 4-4-6, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 6. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system to calm your body. Ground your body. Plant your feet hip-width apart. Feel the floor beneath you and roll your shoulders back. Visualize success. See yourself delivering the talk, hearing applause, and making eye contact with smiling faces. First 30 seconds focus. Plan your opening line so you're not improvising while your nerves are highest. The nerves as proof you care mindset. When you stop wishing your nerves away, you can start appreciating them. Nerves mean you value your audience, your message, and your opportunity to speak. A speaker who feels nothing is more dangerous than a speaker who feels too much, because the former risks sounding flat, and the latter can channel emotion into passion. One time I nearly choked. Early in my speaking career, I was delivering a talk to a group of business owners. Halfway through my introduction, I froze. My mind went blank. I took a breath, looked directly at the audience, and said, "Well, that's not how I plan to start, but maybe this is a good reminder that even speakers get human moments." They laughed, I relaxed, and from then on, I kept a few recovery lines ready for moments like that. Quick win exercise. Nerve map. Next time you speak, take 2 minutes afterward to jot down where in your body you felt nerves most strongly. Throat, hands, stomach. When they peaked, before starting, in the middle, during Q&A. What helped most to bring them down? This builds awareness, and awareness is the first step toward control. Chapter 10. Summary. Nerves are normal and can be reframed as excitement. Use breathing, grounding, visualization, and planned openings to manage your adrenaline. Keep a few recovery lines ready for when things go wrong. Practice prompt. Before your next talk, write down one sentence that will help you reframe your nerves as energy. Repeat it to yourself 3 times before going on stage. Chapter 11, Mastering the Q&A. Stay cool, stay in control. The moment you open the floor to questions, your talk shifts from a performance to a conversation. And for many speakers, this is the scariest part because you can't script it. But here's the truth. A confident Q&A session can elevate your credibility even more than your prepared talk. It shows you know your material, can think on your feet, and can connect with your audience in real time. Why Q&A matters more than you think. When done right, Q&A clarifies points that weren't fully understood, shows humility and willingness to engage, creates audience ownership of the conversation. But when done poorly, it can make you appear unprepared or defensive, let one person hijack the session, end your talk on a weak note. Rule number 1.
You're still in charge. Opening for questions doesn't mean handing over control. Set boundaries early. I'll take 3 questions now, and if there are more, I'll be happy to chat afterward. This protects your time, keeps the session focused, and signals leadership. The 4-step Q&A response formula. Listen fully. Don't start thinking of your answer while the person is still speaking. Let them finish. Acknowledge the question. Show you value it. That's a great point. Thanks for bringing it up.
Answer briefly and clearly. Stick to the heart of the question. Bridge back to your message. Tie your answer to one of your key points so you stay on theme. Handling tough or hostile questions. Stay neutral in tone. The audience will take their emotional cue from you. Ask for clarification. Sometimes the questioner just wants to vent. Asking, "Can you clarify what you mean?" can slow the heat. Reframe. Take an aggressive question and rephrase it into something you can answer productively. Know when to move on. That's a complex issue, and I'd love to discuss it in detail after we wrap up. Avoid the one-person show trap. Some questioners love the spotlight. If one person starts dominating, politely thank them for their input. Invite others. Let's hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet. This keeps the whole room engaged and prevents resentment. One Q&A that changed my perspective. I once spoke at a leadership conference where a man in the back asked, "So, what do you say to people who think public speaking training is a waste of time?" I could have gotten defensive. Instead, I smiled and said, "I'd say the same thing I'd say about swimming lessons. You might never need them, but if you're thrown in the deep end, you'll wish you had them." The room laughed, the man nodded, and we moved on. But several attendees later told me that moment sold them on my message more than anything else I'd said. Quick win exercise. The hot seat drill. Grab a friend or colleague and ask them to throw 5 random or challenging questions at you about your topic. Practice the 4-step formula until it feels natural. Chapter 11 Summary. Q&A is an opportunity to reinforce your credibility and connection. Stay in control by setting boundaries and guiding the conversation. Use the 4-step formula. Listen, acknowledge, answer, and bridge back. Handle tough questions with calm, reframing, and redirection. Practice prompt. Write down 3 challenging questions you could face in your next talk and outline how you'd answer each while keeping your key message front and center. Chapter 12. The power of pause and silence, making your words land. Most people think great speaking is all about what you say. In reality, it's just as much about what you don't say and when you don't say it. A well-placed pause can build anticipation, give your audience time to process, signal confidence, and add emotional weight to your message. Think of silence as the punctuation that turns a stream of words into a compelling story. Why silence feels so uncomfortable? The average person can handle only about 2 seconds of silence before rushing to fill it. That's because our brains interpret gaps in conversation as potential awkwardness. But here's the twist. When a speaker owns the silence, it stops feeling awkward and starts feeling intentional. And that's magnetic. Pauses in public speaking. 1. The anticipation pause, used right before delivering a key point. Example, there's one thing that separates confident speakers from everyone else. Pause. They know when to stop talking. 2. The processing pause. After a complex idea, give your audience 2 or 3 seconds to absorb it. This prevents overload and helps retention. 3. The emotional pause. When you're telling a story, silence lets the feelings sink in. Example, sharing a moment of loss or triumph. You stop speaking, and the room feels it with you. The science of the pause. Neuroscientists have found that the brain processes speech in chunks. When you pause, you're giving the listener's brain time to store one chunk before receiving the next, which can double recall rates. Using silence in conversation. Pauses aren't just for stages. They're equally powerful in one-on-one interactions.
When negotiating, a pause after you state your position puts subtle pressure on the other person to respond. When listening, a pause before replying shows thoughtfulness and respect. Breaking the fillers habit. Silence is also the best cure for like, and other filler words. Replace fillers with intentional pauses. It not only makes you sound more polished, but also gives you breathing space. One time, silence saved me. At a corporate seminar, I was asked a tricky, unexpected question. Instead of stammering an answer, I smiled, looked thoughtful, and let 5 seconds pass. The room leaned in. Then I gave my answer slowly and clearly. Later, an attendee told me, "The way you paused before answering made you seem incredibly confident, like you were completely in control." Quick win exercise. The 3-second rule. During your next conversation, practice pausing for 3 full seconds after someone finishes speaking before you respond. Notice how it changes the pace and depth of the interaction. Chapter 12 summary. Pauses create anticipation, clarity, and emotional impact. Use them before and after key points to make your words land. Silence in conversation signals confidence and thoughtfulness. Replace fillers with intentional pauses. Practice prompt. Record yourself delivering a short speech. Mark 3 places where you could pause for greater impact. Then re-record with the pauses added and compare the difference.
Chapter 13. Building your signature speaking style. Stand out without selling out. In every industry, there are countless people who can speak, but there are far fewer whose voices are memorable. Your signature speaking style is what makes you instantly recognizable. The unique combination of tone, pacing, word choice, humor, and presence that turns a generic talk into your talk. It's not about imitating your favorite speaker, it's about amplifying what's naturally yours. Why you need a signature style. It builds trust. People trust what feels authentic. It makes you memorable. In a sea of voices, yours sticks. It boosts confidence. When you're not pretending to be someone else, you relax and shine. Think of your favorite speakers. They may all be different. A storyteller like Mike Rowe, an analytical mind like Brené Brown, or a high-energy motivator like Gary Vee, but each has a style you could spot within minutes. The 3 pillars of signature style. 1. Voice personality. Your voice is like a fingerprint. No 2 are the same. Play to its strengths. If you have a warm, low tone, lean into storytelling. If you have an energetic, higher tone, bring in dynamic pacing. 2. Message identity. What themes, values, and lessons keep showing up in your talks? This is the DNA of your personal brand as a speaker. 3. Delivery habits. Your gestures, facial expressions, and stance are part of your style. Authenticity here means polishing, not overhauling. You want your delivery to feel natural, not choreographed. Finding your style without copying others. Watch skilled speakers, but instead of imitating, ask, what do I like about their delivery? How could I adapt that into something that feels natural for me? The danger of over-branding. While you want to stand out, forcing a gimmick can make you feel fake. Your style should emerge from your strengths, not from something you bolt on for attention. Exercise. The signature snapshot. Record yourself giving a 5-minute talk. Ask a friend to describe it in 3 words. Compare their words to how you want to be perceived. Adjust your pacing, word choice, and energy until the 2 match. One time, I found my style by accident. Early in my speaking career, I kept trying to sound like my mentor, polished, formal, and flawless. The feedback was, "You're good, but you seem distant." Then one day, I told a personal story off the cuff about a failed high school speech that ended with my note cards flying off stage. The audience laughed, leaned in, and connected with me instantly. That's when I realized my style is conversational honesty with a dash of humor. The moment I embraced that, my talk stopped sounding like a performance and started feeling like a shared experience.
Chapter 14 Summary. Your signature speaking style is what makes you memorable and authentic. Build it through your voice personality, message identity, and delivery habits. Watch others for inspiration, but never imitate directly. Let your natural strengths lead the way. Practice prompt. Pick one story you've told before. Retell it in your natural conversational style, then again in an overly formal style. Compare which feels better and commit to leaning into the one that aligns with your authentic voice. Chapter 14. The Confidence Loop, turning skill into certainty and certainty into skill. Most people think confidence comes before skill, as if you need to feel confident before you can perform well. That's backward. The truth, confidence and skill feed each other in a loop. When you practice and improve a skill, you naturally feel more confident. When you feel more confident, you perform better, which in turn improves your skill even further. That's the confidence loop, and it's the single most reliable way to go from shaky to solid as a speaker. Why confidence feels out of reach? If you're waiting to feel ready before stepping up to speak, you'll wait forever. Confidence is not an entry ticket, it's a byproduct of action. Think of your first time driving a car. You didn't feel confident because you thought about driving. You felt confident after doing it enough times without crashing. The 4 stages of the confidence loop. Action, you take the first step even if it's messy. Skill growth, you learn what works and what doesn't. Micro wins, you notice small successes and bank them as proof. Confidence boost, you feel more capable, which fuels the next round of action. The more you cycle through these stages, the more unstoppable you become. Why fake it till you make it only works halfway? Acting confident can help you start the loop, but if you never actually build the skill, your confidence will crack under pressure. You need both the appearance of confidence and the substance of competence.
How to hack the confidence loop. 1. Start small, repeat often. Instead of signing up to give a 30-minute keynote right away, start by speaking up in small team meetings. Build your loop in low-stakes environments. 2. Track your wins. After each speaking opportunity, write down one thing you did better than last time. This keeps your brain focused on growth, not failure. 3. Rehearse with real pressure. Practice in conditions that mimic the real thing. Lights on, standing up, speaking to actual people. Your brain learns faster when it feels the stakes. 4. Reflect, don't dwell. Review mistakes long enough to extract lessons, but don't replay them endlessly. Over-analysis kills momentum. A true story, how the loop saved me. When I started doing live radio interviews, my first few were nerve-wracking. My voice shook, I spoke too fast, and I blanked on a question once. But I kept showing up. Each interview taught me something: how to breathe before answering, how to reframe a question if I didn't have a perfect answer, how to pace my words. By the 10th interview, the loop had kicked in hard. Not only did I sound calm, but the hosts started inviting me back because I was such a natural guest. They didn't know the truth, that I became natural by cycling through the loop over and over. Quick win exercise. The loop sprint. Pick one speaking situation, introducing yourself in a meeting, telling a story at lunch, etc. Do it every single day for the next 7 days, paying attention to what gets easier. By the end of the week, you'll feel a measurable shift in confidence because the loop will already be turning. Chapter 14 Summary. Confidence and skill feed each other in a loop. Action comes first. Waiting for confidence stalls growth. Build the loop with small, frequent speaking opportunities. Track wins, rehearse under real conditions, and learn without dwelling. Practice prompt. Write down 3 speaking opportunities you can create in the next week. Commit to doing them, no matter how small, to keep your loop spinning. Chapter 15. Speaking under pressure. Staying sharp when the stakes are high. You can practice all you want in the comfort of your living room, but the real test comes when it's game time. It's the big presentation at work, the wedding toast in front of 200 people, the panel interview with executives watching your every move. Pressure changes the equation.
It speeds up your heartbeat, tightens your throat, and shortens your breathing. Even the most prepared speakers can stumble if they don't know how to control their body and mind in those high-stakes moments. The physiology of pressure. Your nerves aren't weakness, they're biology. When the brain senses a threat, even if it's just a room of people staring at you, your fight or flight system kicks in. Adrenaline floods your system, giving you a racing heart, shallow breathing, sweaty palms, a brain that wants to focus on survival, not storytelling. Knowing this is the first step to controlling it. The 3-step pressure reset technique. 1. Ground your body. Plant both feet firmly on the floor. Feel the connection. This stabilizes your posture and signals your brain, we're safe. 2. Reset your breath. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. This longer exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, calming you in seconds. 3. Lock on a friendly face. Find someone in the audience who looks engaged and friendly. Speak to them as if you're having a one-on-one conversation. This narrows your focus and reduces overwhelm. Mental shifts that keep you calm. From me to them. Stop thinking, how am I doing? And start thinking, how can I help them? From perfect to present. Your job is not to be flawless. It's to be connected and clear. From threat to challenge. Treat high-pressure speaking like a sport, something to rise to, not run from. The Navy SEAL trick. Elite military units use a technique called box breathing before missions. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. Repeat 3 to 5 times. It's like hitting a mental reset button before you perform. A high-stakes story I'll never forget. I once had 20 minutes to deliver a keynote to a packed theater of professionals with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company in the front row. 5 minutes before stepping on stage, I could feel my pulse in my ears. I went through my pressure reset, grounding my feet, slowing my breath, and finding my anchor face in the audience. By the time I spoke my first sentence, my voice was steady, my pacing natural, and my focus razor sharp. The feedback afterward? You looked so calm. How do you stay that way under pressure? The answer, I don't stay calm naturally. I create calm deliberately. The pressure simulation exercise.
Once a week, recreate pressure on purpose. Practice your speech in front of a camera with the timer running. Invite friends or colleagues to watch and give live feedback. Speak in a slightly uncomfortable setting. Louder room, unfamiliar space, less prep time. By rehearsing with mild stress, you teach your brain and body that pressure is normal and survivable. Chapter 15, Summary. Pressure is a physiological response. You can train to control it. Use the pressure reset. Ground, breathe, lock on before you speak. Shift your mindset from self-focus to audience focus. Simulate pressure regularly so real high-stakes moments feel familiar. Practice prompt. Schedule 1 pressure simulation this week. Use the 3-step reset before speaking and note how quickly your body settles once you take control. Closing words. Your voice matters. Speaking smoothly isn't about becoming someone else. It's about uncovering the best version of you. Confident, clear, and connected. You've learned the skills. You've built the mindset. You've got the tools to handle nerves, own your space, and speak in a way that makes people listen. Now the real work begins. Use your voice. Not just when it's easy, not just when you feel ready, but especially when the stakes are high and the room is listening. Because the world doesn't need perfect speakers. It needs authentic ones. And starting today, that's exactly who you are.